Zhao Yun stood silly, staring at Lu Ruxin, who was wearing a wedding gown. The bridal banquet, his big day. Of course, the woman whose red hijab was lifted off was not his bride. Lu Ruxin buried her eyes and looked down, her body trembling. Although her eyes were clear, they were dull and hollow. In other words, she is a blind bride. Why you? Zhao Yun said coldly. Are you? Zhao Yun. Answer my question, why are you, your sister? Where is Lu Ruyu? Zhao Yun roared hoarse, bloodshot eyes were seen in his eyes. My sister, let me come for her. Lu Ruxin was frightened, tears in her eyes. Ridiculous. Zhao Yun lifted the table, drew the hanging sword, and rushed out of the bridal chamber frantically. The night in Wanggukun is quite prosperous, with red lanterns hanging high, beautiful, and the streets are bustling with people. There is no shortage of rivers and lakes performing arts, spitting out fire, dancing guns and sticks, and shouts of applause one after another. Of course, this prosperity, but because one person walked by, added a touch of noise. It is Zhao Yun, dressed in a groom suit and carrying a cold light sword, which is particularly eye-catching on the street. This, isn't Zhao young master. How gifted Miss Liu's family is, she is still willing to marry him, this useless person. I don't know how many riches I have cultivated in my previous life. On the day of great rejoicing, not in the bridal chamber with Lu Ruyu, rushing to the streets to do anything. Who offended him with such a heavy murderous intent? People on the street push me, give me pointers, whisper a lot of regret, ridicule, and doubt. Ahead, Zhao Yun was embarrassed, and his pale face was a bit hideous. Perhaps, at the moment he opened the red hijab, he should understand, but he didn't want to admit it. He, Zhao Yun, the young master of the Zhao family, the martial arts wizard of the past, the broken pulse body of today. She, Lu Ruyu, the eldest of the Lu family, the jewel in the palm of the family, and the proud daughter of the heavens who forget the ancient city. They have been childhood sweethearts since childhood, and are recognized as golden boys and girls in the ancient city. Because of this, the Zhao and Lu family, who were close to each other, made a marriage contract for the two. However, he had a long life and was calculated by others during his experience. The Zhao family rescued him in all possible ways. Although he had lost his life, he had broken his spiritual line. Since that day, he is no longer a genius. No one is optimistic about them anymore, even he himself thinks that who would marry a trash. Surprisingly, Lu Ruyu actually fulfilled the marriage contract. However, it wasn't until this night that he realized that the so-called marriage contract was a big joke. He is not angry when he is rejected by the loved one. What he hates is that Lu Ruyu, who has fulfilled the marriage contract in name, secretly conspired. He did not marry, but pushed his sister over. A wedding of stealing the beams and changing the pillars will make the Zhao family, like him, the biggest laughing stock in the ancient city of Forgotten. What's more ridiculous is, from beginning to end, his Zhao family was kept in the dark, and she was played around by herself. As he spoke, he was already in front of the Lu family mansion. Before standing still, there was a roar from the soul, Lu Ruyu, get out. Upon hearing this, street people collectively scratched their heads. I heard it right. Lu Ruyu? Isn't she married to Zhao's family? The next scene stunned the world even more. But seeing the Lu family mansion, a beautiful figure walked out gracefully, the clothes wavy, not stained with dust. She is the proud girl of the ancient city of Forgotten, Lu Ruxin's sister, Lu Ruyu. In Miss Liu's eyes, is the trash and the blind a perfect match? Zhao Yun's words were plain and hoarse. Your stern words are angry or unwilling. Lu Ruyu lightly opened her lips, and her expression was as indifferent as ice, standing at the end of the steps, like a fairy on the cloud, with her unique coldness and arrogance. The fate is over, why bother to ask? You should I understand that you and I are no longer in the same world. Understood, I should have understood. Zhao Yun carried the killing sword and stepped up the steps step by step. His deep eyes were bloodshot and dyed scarlet. I once forced you to marry me. If you don't want to marry me, just say it. Never entangled, why use such methods to play my Zhao family and trample on the dignity of my Zhao family? Just marry and treat my sister well. Lu Ruyu said lightly. Just marry and treat my sister well. Zhao Yun smiled, stepping up the steps, repeating Lu Ruyu's words word by word, not knowing whether it was sadness or anger in the smile. A good sister, a good marriage. Married, Lu Ruyu, don't you realize it's ridiculous to say this from your mouth? Lu Ruxin, who was pushed on the sedan chair by you, lifted her red hijab. She didn't even know who she was marrying. In your eyes, she is just a plaything. She didn't treat her as a sister, so why point to the country as a sister? She said so calmly, she said so polite, and you are truly impressive today. This is the end of the matter, what do you want? Lu Ruyu's tone was very cold. I want to kill you. Zhao Yun roared, stepped onto the last step, and slashed with his sword. Lu Ruyu's eyebrows frowned slightly, but she stood still, and she saw her body surface covered with a purple halo. LB. The sonorous sound broke out, Zhao Yun's sword seemed to be smashed into the iron stone, and sparks were sparked. It did not hurt Lu Ruyu, but was shaken out. When he landed, the sword in his hand broke, and blood spurted out wildly. Without the spiritual veins, Zhao Yun's brain is not very bright anymore. Lu Ruyu is Wushu, a genuine real spiritual realm, a piece of waste can't hurt her. It's really touching that the golden boy and jade girl of the old days have ended up in such a field. It's Zhao Yun who doesn't measure his strength, has become a useless person, and even thinks that the toad eats swan meat. However, Lu Ruyu has done too much. The marriage contract is her. If you don't want to marry, you won't marry. How can you marry Lu Ruxin? What's going on? It's obviously bullying. Patriarch Lu has not seen it up to this moment. Obviously, he knew this in advance. A conspiracy, this is a conspiracy. Let's play the Zhao family together. It's a good match now, trash and blind are a match made in heaven. Amid the noise, Zhao Yun staggered up, unable to stand still, and his eyes looking at Lu Ruyu were blurred. She is so high above. The purple halo of her body was so dazzling under the moon. That is the true essence, Wushu's body protector. This is a strange world, and all those who are born with spiritual veins practice martial arts, which is called martial arts. Wushu is different from ordinary people, it can take the aura of the heavens and the earth, take the essence of the sun and the moon, and cooperate with the martial arts techniques to quench into the true essence of the body. The limbs, corpses, internal organs, and 8 channels of the strange meridian can all benefit from it. Years of nourishment has long been beyond the scope of ordinary people. The 5 realms of martial arts, Ning Yuan, Zhenling, Xianyang, Kasidagarb, Tianwu, one realm day by day. And Lu Ruyu, who was among the true spirits, could not have been injured by his useless physical ability. The Lu family deceive people too much. Not waiting for Zhao Yun's words, he heard an angry shout from the street. Before the words were over, the brigade arrived like a gust of wind. The Zhao family came, headed by Zhao Yun's father, and the current head of the Zhao family, Zhao Yuan, learned that Zhao Yun had run out and was carrying a sword to kill him. Then he went to the bridal chamber and saw that the bride was Lu Ruxin, and was furious. Lu Ruyu was married, but Lu Ruxin was married. Humiliation, naked humiliation. Seeing that it was Zhao Yuan, Lu Ruyu felt a little lack of energy. After all, she was the planner of this conspiracy. Lu Kangkong, get out! Zhao Yuan hissed angrily. It's a good one to steal and change posts. You, the Lu family, need to explain to the Zhao family about this matter. But I don't know what the head of the Zhao family wants to explain. Indifferent words sounded suddenly. The Lu family mansion came out again, but it was not Lu Kangkong, but a Taoist aunt, holding a whisk in her hand, her clothes graceful, and there was such a kind of aura that came out of dust, like a fairy walking out of the painting. Tianzong. Zhao Yuan suddenly narrowed his eyes. He didn't recognize the Taoist ant, but he recognized the fire cloud mark carved on the Taoist ant, like a real flame. That is a sign of Tianzong. This land was ruled by the great Xiaolong dynasty, and anyone present was a citizen of the Long dynasty. The Tianzong was born to protect the great Xiaolong dynasty. It is the only sect in the Long dynasty, with noble identities and the same royal family. Exactly. It was actually from the Tianzong. The street people in Sifang exclaimed, even their voices trembling. The people of Tianzong are very mysterious, and they hardly walk in the world, but once they appear, they will shake everywhere. It is a great honor to see it now. I walked out of the Lu family. Is it possible that this Taoist ant is a guest of the Lu family? Street people speculated secretly. No wonder, it's no wonder that the Lu family is so unscrupulous, it was originally supported by the Tianzong. I have seen the master. Under the attention of the public, Lu Ruyu turned sideways and bowed to the Taoist ant. This ceremony was not only a show of respect, but also for the Zhao family. After the ceremony, she was quite confident, and her white chin was raised extremely high. Indeed, her master, the Zhao family frowned. The name of Tianzong is too big, like an 8,000-meter giant mountain, suppressed in the world. For thousands of years in the Long dynasty, no one who provokes the Tianzong has a good end. A piece of rubbish, not worthy of my disciple. The Taoist aunt said indifferently and majestically. She didn't even look at Zhao Yun. She also ignored everyone in the Zhao family, standing at the end of the steps, like the world's ruler, truly arrogant. When the words fell, she flicked her sleeves, and a treasure box flew out and hung in the air, with an unemotional indifferent tone. This is a heart-strengthening pill, rewarding the Zhao family. As for your family, that's it. Give up. This is not a discussion, but an order. This pill is not a gift, but a charity. Zhao Yuan's face was terribly ugly, pale to bloodless, and the hand holding the sword couldn't help shaking. Knowing it is a humiliation, but dare not speak. That's Tianzong, why don't you need half a stick of incense to destroy his Zhao family? He is not afraid of death, but what about Zhao family? If Tianzong is offended, the entire Zhao family will be removed from the world. What kind of face does he have to see the ancestors under Jiquan? Zhao Yun also trembled to the point where blood was flowing between his fists and fingers. Daogu's words were like steel pins, nailed to his soul one by one. Go! Zhao Yuan flicked his sleeves and turned around. As for the heart-refining pill, he would never take it. If he took it, his Zhao family would lose even the last trace of dignity, which must be bloody. Zhao Yun also turned around. Before leaving, he glanced back at Lu Ruyu. His eyes were still bloody, but his expression was neither happy nor worried, no anger nor hatred, like a puppet, like a walking corpse, calm and scary. Of course, under this calm, there is a monstrous anger hidden. If one day, he returns to Wushu, the shame tonight will surely be repaid by the Lu family. What a big show! Human! You should have self-knowledge. It's ridiculous that you want to marry the proud daughter of the heavens after your pulse is broken. That said, but the Lu family is too much. The discussion started again. The street people have been separated on both sides. It should be the same tacit understanding. They made way for the Zhao family, whispering, and pointing, like watching the prisoners parading the street, ridiculing, regretting, ridiculing, all over the street. This is the world where the strong are respected, the rules of survival. If he is strong, he can trample on it wantonly. You are weak, you deserve to be bullied. Zhao's lobby. Zhao Yuan and the 2 rows of clan elders were sitting upright, their faces were pale and gloomy. In the hall, Zhao Yun stood quietly like a carved stone statue, with strands of messy long hair that covered half of his face, and the blood flowing between his fingers was brighter than his bridegroom's clothes. Shame, shame, and shame! The elder of the Zhao family yelled and smashed the table with one palm. Here, Lu Kangkong has not been seen. It's really hateful to use Tianzong as a shield. This is the end of the matter, it is useless to say more. Zhao Yuan said in a deep voice, stopping the anger in the hall. It's a child, who has put the Zhao family in shame. Zhao Yun knelt down with a bang. Don't blame you, get up and talk. Zhao Yuan's smile was far-fetched. It's no longer a martial artist. I withdrew his young master position earlier, so as not to prevent outsiders from preaching. The elder glanced at Zhao Yun, then glanced at Zhao Yuan, the chief of the clan. When are you going to be partial? In such a hurry, do you let your own son be in charge? Zhao Yuan snorted coldly. Is it possible that you have to hand the Zhao family to you, a rubbish? The great elder suddenly yelled, and the many clan elders were all sternly and violently. They all pointed at Zhao Yuan, which was quite aggressive. You wait. I would like to give up the young master. Zhao Yun's words were flat, he had become a broken body, and it was meaningless to dominate the young master. The most important thing was that he didn't want his father to be difficult. The dignified clan leader was too childish and already aroused public anger. It's self-knowledge. The great elder sat upright. Enough! Zhao Yuan screamed coldly, his eyes were cold, and the majesty of the patriarch was revealed. The great elder was also raging, and he had been forced to force him for more than 10 years without letting down the wind. Boom! A big elder, a paternal master, tit for tat, made the already depressing atmosphere hard to freeze. Zhao Yun! When the swords were drawn, he suddenly called. Lu Ruxin came, leaning on the wall carefully, and groping into the lobby. Seeing this, the elders' faces were pale, and they thought of the shame of the Zhao family. For so many years, they have never been so embarrassed. If it were not for the untimely situation, they would surely kill them and slap Lu Ruxin with a palm. Zhao Yuan hesitated to speak but sighed despite his anger. This girl, also a poor person, was born after Lu Kangkong was drunk and was born blind. Lu Kangkong was furious. In his opinion, it was the humble servant girl who tainted the noble blood of the Lu family. Because of this, he never paid attention to their mother and daughter. Lu Ruxin's mother died in depression and died, Lu Kangkong never even took a look. The mother is humble, she is blind, or a pulseless body, she has been neglected and bullied since she was a child. It is not so much a lady of the Lu family as a servant, or even a servant. If it wasn't for the sake of face, Lu Kangkong had already driven her out of Liu's house. At today's wedding, it appeared to be married to a daughter, but in fact, she was abandoned. Her life is a good interpretation, what is miserable? Zhao Yuan looked at Zhao Yun, and Lu Ruxin was indeed married to him regardless of the plot. Once married, it is his wife. He decides whether to rush or stay. Without a word, Zhao Yun got up slowly and pulled Lu Ruxin out of the lobby. Maybe he walked so fast that Lu Ruxin could not keep up. She almost fell several times. Her small hand hurts, but she is not timid. Dare to speak. To the back door of Zhao's house. Zhao Yun stopped, pushed Lu Ruxin out, and said coldly, "You are dismissed. Don't drive me away." Lu Ruxin's face was full of tears, as if frightened. He fumbled and turned around, but the door was closed. "Please, don't drive me away." In the darkness, crying and crying heartbreaking. Zhao Yun stayed unheard and drifted away. Although she knew that it was not Lu Ruxin's fault, she was the Lu family after all. He hates the Lu family, and he hates everyone in the Lu family. Among them, it also includes this blind bride. Back to the bridal chamber, he closed the door tightly and poured only a pot of wine into his mouth. The night is getting deeper, and everything is silent. Under the moon, Zhao Yun came out again and went to the back door when he could hear the door creaking. Outside the door, Lu Ruxin curled up at the foot of the wall, hugging her knees, shivering like a beggar. I know, I am a blind man and I am not worthy of being your wife. On the cold night, the bride muttered and choked. Perhaps, everyone does not know that her greatest wish is to take a look at the person named Zhao Yun, to see the big brother who has faced many killers and held her tightly in his arms. That warmth was the touch she wanted to cry most in this world. Zhao Yun came, seeing Lu Ruxin still there, couldn't help but want to laugh. What a piercing scene, I would rather hide outside Zhao's house and cry than go back to the cold Liu's house. Once, he also regarded Lu Ruxin as a relative because she was Lu Ruyu's younger sister. But he still underestimated Lu Ruyu, not only played with the conspiracy, but also played with family affection, using extremely dirty means to turn his sister into the victim and funerary of the conspiracy. One can imagine how helpless this girl was the moment she was sent to the sedan chair. Just marry and treat my sister well. Her words echoed in his ears again. This time it sounds extremely ridiculous. Perhaps, in the eyes of the proud lady of that day, it is only natural for the blind to match waist. After all, he stretched out his hand and pulled Lu Ruxin up. This poor girl will be his last kindness to the Lu family. Lu Ruxin choked, tearful eyes, clutching Zhao Yun's hand tightly, for fear of being abandoned again. His hand, like a mother's embrace, very warm, will be the only inch of light in her dark world. Back to the bridal chamber, Zhao Yun pulled a bedding and hit the floor. He slept on the floor and Lu Ruxin slept on the bed. In the darkness, he laughed at himself. In the romantic bridal chamber, the bridegroom is a trash and the bride is a blind man, a match made in heaven. Great irony! This is all thanks to the proud girl of heaven, who ordered this Mandarin duck book and led this red line. Zhao Yun. Lu Ruxin's call, timid and clear, broke the tranquility of the bridal chamber. Zhao Yun could hear it. Although his eyes were open, he was silent as ice, let alone responding. Zhao Yun. Lu Ruxin called again. I didn't hear the echo for a long time, and it was confirmed that Zhao Yun had fallen asleep. Then she got out of bed and fumbled in the dark. Every step, she walked carefully, and stopped until she touched Zhao Yun's body. Zhao Yun frowned, wondering what Lu Ruxin was going to do. My mother said, there is reincarnation in the world, good people go to heaven, and bad people go to hell. Lu Ruxin whispered softly. As she said, she took off a pendant on her neck, a crescent pendant. I would like to use the 9th reincarnation to exchange Zhao Yun's life well. The blind bride, with a small smile, put on her husband a crescent pendant. But she, who was blind, didn't realize that because of her 9th world blessing, the pendant actually flickered. She didn't notice it, but Zhao Yun saw it really. The crescent pendant is quite strange, engraved with a magical pattern, dimly, as if you can still see a woman through it, dancing lightly under the moon, looking back and smiling at him from time to time. Looking at it, he only felt that his mind was erratic. He was not sleepy at first, but fell asleep faintly. When I opened my eyes again, it was a white world. This is, where? Zhao Yun was taken aback and looked around. For a long time, his eyes rested in the air. In midair, a bright moon hung. It was not a full moon, but a crescent shape, shining like a dream. On it sat an illusory woman, holding her cheeks in her hands and blinking at him. Zhao Yun was shocked, and backed away suddenly. Who are you? Moon God. The woman smiled with a clear voice. You are God. God is not beautiful. The moon god smiled, his beautiful eyes gleaming, full of magic. Diao, beautiful. Zhao Yun said blankly. You can teach you. The moon god smiled and closed his eyes. Somehow he took out an imaginary little mirror, and looked at the mirror left and then again, and from time to time, he also trimmed his illusory hair. You take the liberty to ask, where is this? Zhao Yun said. In your consciousness. The moon god stretched, I am the mansion hidden in the crescent pendant. Crescent moon pendant? The one given by Lu Ruxin. Otherwise, what do you think? The moon god yawned, and he knew at a glance that the lady hadn't woken up yet. Then why don't you go into her consciousness and run away from me? Zhao Yun asked in doubt. That little girl, I wish you a good life with the 9th reincarnation, I regard it as a contract, and the crescent pendant is the carrier of the contract. It is this ambition that wakes me up and who I am when I wake up. It will be in whose consciousness, whether this explanation is easy to understand. Wait, I'll stroke it. Zhao Yun was a little dazed. He was a lunar and caught him off guard. The most surprising thing was that the crescent pendant was hiding such a big secret. By coincidence, he opened the mansion here. My body is gone, only this trace of knowledge is left. From now on, I will use your body to raise my soul. When Zhao Yun muttered, the moon god said leisurely, you are at ease, there is nothing for you to cultivate your soul. Harm. I understand, you want to find a place to live, right? Zhao Yun smiled. Understanding this way, there is nothing wrong with it. The moon god shrugged. I borrowed my body to raise my soul with you, so I helped you. In return, you also helped me. Zhao Yun rubbed his hands, his eyes gleaming, give me supreme power, I will lift the Lu family. This can't help. How can it be? You are a god. I've said it, I only have a trace of inferior knowledge. The moon god spread his hands, nothing except memory. Why don't you live in another place? Zhao Yun asked tentatively. Why, the spirit vein doesn't want to continue. Can you continue my spiritual vein? Zhao Yun suddenly came to his mind, his body tensed tight. My old lady, cough, I am a god. Omnipotent. In a word, Zhao Yun was extremely pleasantly surprised, just like a dying person, who instantly had hope of life. The moon god smiled without saying a word, only flicked his sleeves, shed a glimmer of light, and stared at it, only to realize that it was a small print, only the size of a thumb, golden, and their own arrangement and combination. Wash the marrow Yi Jin Jing. Zhao Yun raised his head, looked at the first line, and read each word. Looking at the name, he knew that he exercised the muscles and flesh, refined the impurities in the body, enhanced the density and toughness of the muscles and flesh, and strengthened the body. Naturally, this is only the most basic. It is said in the scriptures that if this method is practiced to great success, there will be nirvana, which can be reborn and cast into an immortal golden body, raising your hand to push the mountains and the sea, and covering the hands to collapse the heavens and the earth. Is it hanging like this? Zhao Yun licked his lips, just looking at this introduction, it was enough shock. Shock is shock, but this method seems incomplete. After seeing it, he looked at the moon god again, the expression in his eyes representing everything. I am incapable of intellect, and my memory is missing. Moon god said, the answer he gave was easy to understand. Then it's incomplete, so it doesn't. Operating for a week, the spirit pulse can be continued. Real or fake? This is the secret technique of refining the body of the barbarian god, the supreme way to build the foundation, the most domineering of his family. The moon god whispered as graceful as a fairy song, you use it to build the foundation of your martial art secret. Savage? Zhao Yun whispered in his heart, don't even think that he is also a god, and most of them have a very deep relationship with the moon god, otherwise, this girl would not have his line of body refining secret art, this is the supreme secret art. If it is not for a particularly strong relationship, a fool will spread it. What is the secret realm of martial arts? After muttering, Zhao Yun looked at the moon god again. When you reach the celestial martial realm, you will understand it. The moon god lay on the moon again, this god is a kind reminder, if you practice the marrow Yujin Jing at night, find a rag and put it in your mouth. Jump. Why? Why are there so many? The moon god gently waved his sleeves and threw Zhao Yun out of consciousness. In the bridal chamber, Zhao Yun opened his eyes for a moment, and his eyes turned up and down, looking around. Certainly not a dream. He had the method of washing the Yujinjing in his mind, and the moon god's voice and smile were extremely clear. Before thinking about it, he sneaked out of the room. Under the old tree in the garden, he sat cross-legged, meditating silently in his heart, and circling the washing marrow Yujin Sutra. Well! As soon as the mind was working, he heard his low growl and groan. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts into the bone marrow. At this moment, he just understood why the moon god asked him to put a rag in his mouth. It was so quiet in the middle of the night. If the pain is so loud, God knows how many people will be awakened, and God knows how many scolds will be incurred. But when I think about it, I feel relieved. Such an overbearing body training method, if there is no pain, it is abnormal. Sitting still again, he put a handkerchief in his mouth. The second time it turned, it was still a muffled sound. I could smell the crackling in the body. Tendons, bones, flesh and veins were all tearing. The severe pain instantly covered the whole body, like being in a stove, like being burned, and limbs. The viscera, the 6 internal organs, the odd meridians and the 8 meridians are all like a knife cut, not torture by Lingqi. Well! Zhao Yun roared, his forehead was exposed, and his mind was rumbling. For a few moments, it was impossible to distinguish between reality and illusion. Looking at the handkerchief in his mouth, it was soaked in blood, reflected in the moonlight, and it was quite bright. The pain stops. The moon god walks leisurely, knowing he is domineering, he is a madman, and his family's body training method is not practiced by humans. In his memory, there are really few who can survive the pain of body training. Of course, the only response to her was Zhao Yun's painful growl. The face that was still slightly immature was full of madness, and the blood-colored eyes glowed with fiery light. Pain, and excited. What a little guy, I underestimated you. Moon God glanced at her, his eyes gleaming. Zhao Yun's tenacity exceeded her expectations. In other words, once people have obsessions, nothing is a problem. His obsession should be the shame of the Zhao family, and the rules of survival have truly transformed his state of mind. Since this is a world where the strong is respected, if you speak with your fists, you will be the strongest. Well! Zhao Yun's low growl became more and more dull, and the blood-stained eyes became more trance. The pain has reached its limit. At this moment, he may faint all the time, but fortunately, he is tenacious enough. Look at his body surface, there is more dirty sticky substance. That's impurities. The impurities in the body have been exorcised because of the marrow washing and tending. Vo! 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 I don't know when, such sounds sounded one after another. Passed from Zhao Yun's body, when he exercised his body, all of his 720 acupuncture points were washed away. Then, the 8 meridians of the odd meridian were opened up one after another. Finally, the martial arts spirit channel is also continued, which is the meridian connecting the Danshan. Body refining is completed 1 day a week. And Zhao Yun, because of his strength, Yang Tian lay down, his mouth was with a rag. The first time he practiced his body, he almost killed him. But pain, not without reward, the rough bones in the body have fallen off, the meridians are strong and tough. The fruit is overbearing. Zhao Yun was ecstatic, panting and sitting up. The pain of body refining has disappeared. He only feels that he is cool and transparent. What excites him most is that the martial arts spirit vein has been continued, and it is more resilient than before. He meditation and condensed his breath. Immediately, the aura of heaven and earth converged, and his acupuncture points all over his body, greedily absorbing, and the spiritual body entered the body, like a stream of sweet springs, flowing all over the body, being refined into true essence, pouring into the already dry Danshan. This is the process of opening the veins and condensing the essence. Today, he is no longer a waste body. After a long life, he has become a martial artist. Long lost feeling. Zhao Yun's voice was hoarse, and he felt quite unreal. Because of a martial art spiritual vein, how much coldness he received, and how much ridicule he ate, his ups and downs, a good explanation of what is impermanence. This method works well. The moon god lay on the consciousness moon, closed his eyes and slumbered. His words were like a fairy tune. Easy to use, easy to use. Zhao Yun collected the gods and laughed. It only operated for a week, and then continued the spiritual channel. If it runs every day in the future, it will definitely be nirvana against the sky, the body refining method of the wild gods, and it is extremely overbearing. Senior, what level of cheats is this? Without waiting for moon god's words, Zhao Yun spoke again. In your opinion, what level it belongs to? Moon god said casually. Well. Zhao Yun touched his chin, secretly calculating. There are 5 levels of martial arts, the level of cultivation is divided into levels, and the secret methods are also divided into levels. The martial arts practiced by Wushu and the mind are collectively referred to as cheats. Just say that his Zhao family, the highest level cheat book passed down, is Huangji's. As for the heavenly ranks, I'm afraid that if I search the entire great Xiaolong dynasty, I may not be able to find one. After thinking about it for a while, he looked at the moon god. At least it's a level. Levels. Hearing these 2 words, Luna was amused, with a lot of contempt in his tone. Heaven ranked. Zhao Yun said tentatively. Wushu cheats, Purple Mansion profound method, Taixu immortal technique, Taoist magical powers. What do you mean? The celestial rank in your mouth belongs to a secret book, the Washing Marrow Yujin Sutra that I teach is a magical power. Gudong. Zhao Yun listened and swallowed fiercely. All these words came out. As long as they didn't get the water in their heads, they would be able to hear that the level of marrow washing Yujin Jing strengthened the heavenly rank cheats by 1,000 miles. Because of the shock, he was surprised. More than just picking up a treasure, what is so special, is to find a hidden. Why, don't you plan to thank the god? The moon smiled. Thanks, I naturally want to thank you. Zhao Yun was grateful, senior's great kindness, I will never forget it. Thank me, it's better to thank that little girl. Moon god said indifferently. I should thank her. Zhao Yun looked towards the bridal chamber, as if she could see Lu Ruxin sleeping through the wall. Is this a freak in the legend? A wedding that surrendered and changed posts gave him a heaven-defying good fortune. A blessing from the reincarnation of the 9th world brought him back from to the world. At this moment, even though there is so much grievance in my heart, I am grateful but sincere. This kind of gratitude is not only to Lu Ruxin, but also to Lu Ruyu, who has led this red line. Treat others well, not everyone dares to send the blessings of the 9th reincarnation. In this world, is there really reincarnation? Zhao Yun asked. Maybe, maybe not, who can say it? Moon God said boredly. Then senior, can she heal her eyes and open her spiritual veins? You don't need to worry about this. Her eyes don't need me to treat, and they will be restored when they should be restored. Her spiritual veins do not need to be opened by me, and sometimes they will have them. I have a word for you and remember. Before, Mo would use any elixir to her, and only use the true essence to warm her body every day. Understand? Also, don't move her. Moon God added another sentence. This. Zhao Yun couldn't help but cough, he understood the meaning of the Moon God. The so-called NON movement means that you cannot do things as a couple. Can't help it, you can solve it with your hands. The Moon God smiled. Zhao Yun heard the corner of his mouth. Is it so fresh and refined when the great drives the car? Suddenly, there was another golden letter inscribed into his mind. Zhao Yun raised his head, looked and looked again, and he didn't make a sound for a long time. "Why don't you say anything?" "It's mainly because you don't know those ancient characters, it looks like a scripture at first glance." The moon god coughed dry, and then received it, a hand brushed, a new piece of gold floating. This time, Zhao Yun could understand. The gold characters are illusory, arranged on their own, each one is full of Taoism, surrounded by thunder. Tian Lei Ju in the early days. Zhao Yun whispered softly, it was the biggest and brightest of these 5 characters, and his dangling eyes showed golden stars. After watching for a long time, he subconsciously scratched his head. This primordial sky thunder tactic, only the heart tactic, what exactly does it do, what abilities it has? There is no introduction in it. It is worthy of affirmation that it must be related to thunder, otherwise, it will not carry a thunder word. Memorize this method, it will be used in the future. Understand? Also, find an iron rod and prepare it. Good to say. After a brief dialogue, the moon god was speechless, lying on the moon comfortably. Zhao Yun calmed down. It took him a full half an hour to learn the heavenly thunder Ju of the first beginning. Su was curious, and he ran silently. Looks like there is no special ability. However, as soon as this method operates, it feels like a tyrannical will spread all over the body. It's so strange. Zhao Yun murmured softly, feeling that his whole body was shaking, and he could still hear a faint thunder. Heavenly? Zhao Yun muttered, and took a peek at the moon god. It coincided that the moon god opened his eyes, and there was no words, but the expressions in his eyes had meaning, but they represented everything. Then I will raise the rank with my old lady, and slap you to death. Zhao Yun smiled and closed his eyes, looking at the expression of the moon god, he knew that this was another Taoist magical power. Just say it. How could it be Fanpin if the dignified god's shot? Before thinking about it, he crossed his knees again, and while running the marrow and Yujin Jing exercises, the pores all over his body were widened. He swallowed the heaven and earth aura, and more impurities in the body were quenched. The physical strength is increasing, and Danshan Zhenyuan is also accumulating. Bo! Bo! As dawn was approaching, 2 successive noises came from within him. Broke through. Cheng Wuxiu tonight, breaking through 2 small realms, is already the 3rd level of Ning Yuan. Overbearing. Zhao Yun closed his eyes, and the corners of his mouth were filled with smiles, filled with true essence, and it felt really wonderful. Lu family, wait for me. The faint word in his heart is a roar from the soul. Returning to martial arts practice this time and cleaning up the Lu family will be his first mission. The shame suffered by the Zhao family will be returned 100-fold in the future. P.S. Because the new book issue requires PK, it is updated 2 chapters a day. I hope new and old book friends can read it more. After the new book period, boom. Ask for collection, ask for support, ask for recommendation, ask for silver ticket, ask for comment. There will be a in the comment area later. You can post any role you want in it. In the early morning, the red glow of the east appeared. Under the old tree, Zhao Yun finally woke up, a long breath of turbid air was spit out, and then he got up and stretched his waist fiercely. He could smell the crackling in his body, and practiced and forged overnight, and his realm was stabilized. Inadvertently, he glanced at Moon God. At this glance, the expression is a little strange. The girl is sleeping zhengxiang, but that sleeping position. It's not very elegant, leaning on all sides, with a jade arm and a leg, still drooping underneath, there is no woman's reservedness at all. This is a great image, because of this sleeping position, there is not a bit of screaming left. Shiur! For some reason, Zhao Yun shouted subconsciously. Moon God slowly opened his eyes and squinted at Zhao Yun. Are you calling me? Senior, tell me a secret method of fighting. The witty Zhao Yun hurriedly changed the subject, rubbing his hands and laughing. The Moon God got up and yawned. It's best to be domineering, one that can smash a mountain with one palm. Zhao Yun was still talking, quite active, and he did not forget to gesture with his hands. You're afraid that your brain is flooded. What do you mean? Dominant fighting supernatural powers have their own domineering consumption. Moon God stretched his waist. Just your small body and your small cultivation skills will instantly be consumed into a corpse. If you insist on using it, it has nothing to do with suicide. There is no reciprocal background. Even if you give you the god-defying magical powers, you can't use it. Understand in seconds. Zhao Yun sneered. At this stage, it is enough to wash the marrow Yujin, and it is most important to consolidate the foundation. The moon god said slowly, the foundation is strong enough, even an ordinary palm will collapse the sky and the earth. The road to cultivation is long. There is no shortcut to ascend to the sky. Xiao Xiaoning Yuan Zhen, you, don't belittle yourself. Thank you Xiu'er, well, senior for teaching. Rus can be taught. The moon god yawned and leaned on the moon again, his sleeping posture was still very seductive. Is this a god? Zhao Yun touched his chin, really wanted to draw the moon god, and let her open her eyes. Zhao Yun. Suddenly, a call came from the room, timid and clear, like Lu Ruxin. Zhao Yun received his and came slowly. Before entering the room, she saw Lu Ruxin from the crack of the door. She had gotten out of bed and was kneeling on the ground and groping with her small hands, as if looking for something. What are you looking for? Looking for food. Eat all over the floor. That's right, he was furious last night and raised the table, and the tea and snacks on the table were scattered all over the floor. That girl should be starving, touched a piece of cake, and was desperately stuffing her mouth. I don't know whether it is the pity that is causing the trouble, or that the scene is already dazzling, and Zhao Yun's heart is aching. Perhaps Lu Ruxin came here in this way at Liu's house. He even wondered whether the Lu family had given her a full meal when he married yesterday. Squeak! He finally opened the door. Lu Ruxin was frightened, and she hurriedly got up, shivering, her little black hands, and she was holding half of a dusty snack. If she hadn't tasted it, she didn't know that there was such a delicious thing in the world. Wash up and serve my father tea. Zhao Yun's words were plain and plain. He brought the tub and gently wiped Lu Ruxin's tear-stained face, then took her to the dressing table, removed the jade hairpin for her, and combed her long hair. Looking at Lu Ruxin in the mirror, he laughed again. This should be him, the first time combing a woman's hair, and also the first time. Looking at his wife so carefully, Lu Ruxin is 1 year younger than him. Although he is blind, his small face is exquisite. She is all over the country, but she is definitely a beauty. Sue is suffering from malnutrition all the year round, and she looks yellow and thin. Look at Lu Ruxin, like sitting on pins and needles. At this age, apart from my mother, someone combed her hair the first time. I can be a maid. Lu Ruxin said timidly, she was blind, and she considered herself unworthy of the Zhao family's young master. This is the Zhao family, you are my wife. Zhao Yun said calmly, the little girl who listened was in a trance. After all, Zhao Yun left the room. Immediately, he heard the sound of splashing water, and the whole body was filthy during practice overnight, and a basin of cold water was poured on his feet. After washing, she took Lu Ruxin out of the small garden. Early in the morning, the Zhao family was full of vigor, and the maids and servants kept coming and going. When they saw Zhao Yun and Lu Ruxin, they couldn't help but show a different color. The things last night, the ancient city has been spread, how can they know? I thought that Zhao Yun would drive Lu Ruxin out. Whoever thought, still in Zhao's house. Whispering and pointing are indispensable. Zhao Yun ignored it. When passing by the martial arts arena, I could hear a shout. It was the son of the Zhao family punching, and there was a teacher in black who was carrying a whip and hissing. It seemed that he was an extremely strict teacher. Stop! Seeing Zhao Yun, he scolded. Before he could finish his words, he saw a purple-clothed young man over the railing and stopped the two of them. He was the second son of the third elder, named Zhao Kong. He was the third elder of the clan by relying on his father, but he was not less arrogant. Something. Zhao Yun said calmly. Lu Ruxin kept hiding behind him. Why don't you drive her away? Zhao Kangjiao yelled, referring to her as Lu Ruxin. Why do you want to drive her away? She is from the Lu family. She is my wife too. Oh? You are very tough today. Zhao Kangjia screamed, do you really think you are the young master of the Zhao family? The elders in the clan last night has withdrawn your young master, and dare to spit me face. For young master, are you free? Come back to practice. Without waiting for Zhao Yun to open up, he heard the head of the Zhao family scolding, and Zhao Kong was full of spirits. A trash, a blind man, made in heaven. Even if he left, Zhao Kong never forgot his mouth addiction, and his smile was unscrupulous. Funny. Zhao Yun is drifting away. If it were not for the instructor to intervene, Zhao Kong would definitely be cleaned up, and he would only condense the 6th level of Yuan, which is nothing in his eyes. Even if it is 3 small realms, he will cry Zhao Kong and lose his pulse. In front of him, he was a genuine real spiritual realm. He was able to get rid of Zhao Kong Shishao Street by discussing fighting skills. Now, returning to Wuxiu, the realm may not be enough to see, but a certain state of mind is incomparable to Zhao Kong. As for the withdrawal of the young master, it was as early as expected. Although my father is the head of the family, he is not alone in power, and everything has to be listened to by the Presbyterian Church. While talking, he has reached a villa. In the hall, Zhao Yun was already there. Seeing Zhao Yun and Lu Ruxin walking in, he couldn't help but sighed. His son, he understood, has always been grudges, and it was Lu Ruya who caused the evil, and Lu Ruxin would never be involved. I saw my father. Zhao Yun stepped forward and knelt on the ground, and Lu Ruxin also knelt there, but with her head buried. Get up and talk. Zhao Yun's smile was gentle, not as stern as the elder and others. It was Zhao Yun's decision, and he unconditionally supported it. Since Zhao Yun recognized Lu Ruxin as his wife, he also recognized this daughter-in-law. Yuer, take the young lady to the back hall for dinner. Oh! The little maid stepped forward, but she was also well behaved, and took Lu Ruxin to the back hall. My father, have a drink. Zhao Yun smiled, pulling up Zhao Yun, and setting a table behind the account. Father should have something to tell me. Zhao Yun filled a cup for Zhao Yun. Last night, the Presbyterian Church withdrew your young master. Zhao Yun sighed. Enlightened early. Zhao Yun smiled. Father did his best. Zhao Yun's words were full of oldness. Who is the new young master? After March, there will be a competition. Whoever wins will be the young master. Well, it's good. Tomorrow, go to the Bingpu. Think of it as a relaxation. Zhao Yun smiled gently. Listen to my father. Zhao Yun smiled. The so-called Bingpu was an industry of his Zhao family in Wanggukan. As the name suggests, it sold weapons. Although his father said it implicitly, he understood its meaning. According to the elders of the clan, the Zhao family does not raise idlers, and the abandoned young masters cannot eat dry food, they have to work, and they have to contribute to the family. They always did this on the day when they had the Zhao family. Not only the Zhao family, but also other families. All children with poor qualifications and those who have no good prospects will be sent out of the family to take care of the family's business. To put it nicely, they are to be the shopkeepers. If they are awkward, they are assigned, even if they do well outside. Even though he earned a golden mountain for the family, he was destined to miss the family power center. Over the years, if he hadn't been protected by his father, he would have been sent away long ago. It's okay to go out and have fun. Zhao Yun saw it open, so you can cultivate quietly. As for his secret, it was not stated. In March, it was not bad to give my father a big surprise after March. It's his, and it will be taken back. Yuner, life is a long way, so don't go to your heart, and you have a clear conscience. Zhao Yuan smiled mildly, and it was for his good to send Zhao Yun out of the family. The family seemed peaceful, but the dark tide was raging. Child understands. Zhao Yun smiled and pours another cup for Zhao Yuan. When he was done, he opened his belly and started to eat. He ate hungrily and refined his body overnight. He was hungry and panicked. It should have produced a lot of impurities. The body is extremely deficient in nutrients and needs energy supplement. Quite sure, the appetite in the future will definitely be even more amazing. Zhao Yuan wanted to say something but stopped, always feeling that Zhao Yun was eating to hide the bitterness in his heart. After the meal, a small garden was cleaned up in Biwan. It was for Lu Ruxin to live in. Zhao Yuan was also very concerned and sent 2 well-behaved little maids to take care of him. After all, Zhao Yun is leaving tomorrow and cannot go home often. The blind bride felt quite uncomfortable. In Liu's family, she was worse than her servants. When she came to Zhao's family, she was really a young grandmother. She feels humble and has never been served by anyone. Most of the time, she is sincere and fearful and feels untrue. As night fell, she fell asleep early. It was Zhao Yun who was laying on the floor, slowly getting up in the dark, standing in front of the bed, and warming Lu Ruxin with his true essence. Whether he was compassionate or grateful, in the bottom of his heart, he was gradually accepting this wife. Hold it! Luna said suddenly. No. As Zhao Yun said, he couldn't help scratching his head. He always felt that this girl didn't sleep in the middle of the night, just because he was staring at him, for fear that he would be worthy of a spring night with his wife. Because of this, he was surprised. This was a surprise to Lu Ruxin, why he couldn't have with her, and why he couldn't use magic medicine on her. In the future, you will understand. Moon God's words are long, and they seem to be able to read his heart words, but what they say is still selling off. Zhao Yun didn't get to the bottom of the question, and continued to urge Zhen Yuan. Although Lu Ruxin closed her eyes, she was awake, her small body was tight, and the atmosphere didn't dare to make a sound. Zhao Yun's true essence wandered through her body like a stream, quite warm. Shining a ray of moonlight, she gave a dazed smile, feeling at home for the first time. P.S. I read a lot of reviews from book friends and talked about the old story. I admit this. But eternity, there will be a different story, I will try my best to interpret it to the best. There is also Zhao Yun and Ye Chen. Xian Yu and eternity are 2 different developmental histories and 2 different storylines. There will be interlacing in the later period. No matter which protagonist is, they will not deliberately belittle. Zhao Yunan is comparable to Ye Chen for its own reason, the gate of eternity will be presented one by one. In the middle of the night, Zhao Yun left the room. Before going out, he glanced at the moon god in his consciousness, his eyes were strange. In the future, if he and Lu Ruxin do anything, wouldn't this girl be able to watch the live broadcast? Thinking this way, it's very embarrassing. The god still needs face. Moon God squinted at Zhao Yun. He was not too old and he had a lot of eyes on him. Zhao Yun smiled and sat under the old tree. When I was done, I put a handkerchief in my mouth and ran the marrow Yujin Jing. Click it. Click it. Immediately, I heard the crackling sound in the body, dull low growl, frequently. He single-minded and double-purposed, while refining his body, he also operated the primordial sky thunder art. This tactic is mysterious and occasionally sees thunder's breath during operation, and it has a strong meaning of domineering, and it complements each other with refining. Be careful of getting involved. The moon god reminded him that the little guy in the dark road was really bold. The 2 exercises worked together, and there would be some interference between each other. If one was not paying attention, there would be big problems, such as getting into trouble. Zhao Yun did not answer. The young master of the Zhao family is still very talented, and he can cover it with one heart. After all, he only has 3 months. The children of the Zhao family are not only Zhao Kangna and others, but there are many outstanding people. They want to catch up with them in just 3 months. I am afraid that it will be difficult. Because of this, I can't relax for a moment. In the world, doesn't it rain? The moon god is boring, like these words, I don't know how many times he muttered it. In the middle of the night, Zhao Yun got up and stood still. For a long time, there was no movement, but the true essence in the body was surging, rolling into the major meridians. Walong. But when he heard a whisper in his heart, he stepped out and slapped forward. Pom Jin is quite powerful, and there is a faint dragon roar. H Shen Long Dao. The moon god whispered, Zhao Yun's powerful dragon palm technique had a connection with this magical power, or it was a small branch, the real 8 bus Shen Long Dao could collapse the world in an instant. Dao Zun Shen Long, have also been to this ghost place. Luna muttered in his heart. But after another thought, he was relieved, gods are everywhere, and God knows where to go. Well. On Zhao Yun's side, there was not much harmony, his face was pale and his mouth was bleeding. Veyron palms are too powerful. His small body was shocked by his internal strength, and his limbs, corpses and internal organs were painful. Speaking of this palm technique, it has quite a history. Before breaking the pulse, he went out to experience, obtained from a dilapidated ancient temple. There is a saying in the Wulong Cheats that if you don't reach the true spiritual realm, don't use this method. He is eager to get it done, and the foundation has not yet been consolidated, so he asks for hardships. It is because he has undergone physical training, otherwise, he will be shaken by the 5 internal organs. Broken. Come on, slap again. The moon god lay on the moon, talking casually. Pain. Zhao Yun coughed dryly, sat down with a butt, and used his heart to soothe his body. As I said long ago, laying a solid foundation is the most important thing. The moon god glanced at him, disregarding this divine word. Look, it was shaken out of internal injuries. You are not going to tell me some more secrets. Zhao Yun smiled and looked at the moon god eagerly. My words are all deaf ears. The moon god glanced at him, I can't chew too much. That's how it is said, but you and I belong to a symbiosis, I die and you are annihilated. So, it is the most reliable to teach me some life-saving magical powers. I am safe, and you are safe. Are you a god? Omnipotent. Zhao Yun opened the flicker mode, saying without stopping, which looked like a wounded person. Moon god did not speak, but took a closer look. It really is. Seeing her brushing her hands again, she swayed the golden letters, and Zhao Yun's dangling eyes stared at golden stars. Escape, take it for fun. Thank you, senior. Zhao Yun's eyes were shining brightly, and he remembered every word of the method in his heart. Dundee, he has heard of it, belongs to Kim and Dunjia. Of course, he had only heard of it, and the heads of the clan had never really seen this technique. Before thinking about it, he sat cross-legged, meditation. This method is not as cumbersome as imagined, easy to learn and easy to use. Just imagine, fighting people out of fashion, a retreat, is better than anything else. The moon god is indeed a life-saving magical power. I don't know when I saw him get up. Escape. Accompanied by a soft chick, he performed a retreat. However, the picture was a bit embarrassing afterwards. It didn't matter if you stayed away, the lower part of the body was in the soil, but the upper part of the body was exposed outside. At first glance, it looked like a wooden stake stuck in the dirt. It's not a big deal. Zhao Yun looked at it. After all, it was normal to use escape for the first time, and it would take a lot of hard work. There is still embarrassment. Half of his body fell into the soil, and after a flutter, he didn't come out. Wow! Suddenly, there was the sound of messy drops of water, and a gloomy wind came. Zhao Yun raised his eyes subconsciously. At this sight, he was taken aback for a moment, and saw a person crawling out of the ancient well opposite. To be precise, it was a woman. With disheveled hair, her hair was extremely long, her eyes were green, her mouth was bloody, her nails hadn't been cut for many years, not only long but also translucent, glowing with a gloomy light. She looked at him with a grin. "Xiu'er, this is a female ghost," Zhao Yun said. Yes. You knew there were ghosts in the well?" "No. Why don't you tell me?" "I don't want to." Upon hearing this, Zhao Yun's face went dark suddenly. What a pure blood! The female ghost licked her scarlet tongue and brought a jealous smile, which could mess up people's minds. "You wait for me to come out." Zhao Yun fluttered again. A soil escape was useless, half of his body was still in the soil. However, no matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't get out. He didn't come out, but the female ghost came out. She had completely crawled out of the well, and the wind blew her face. "Father, well!" Zhao Yun called. In such an embarrassing situation, he had to find someone to help. It's a pity that the female ghost moved before the father's kin word was fully uttered. The strangely long hair struck like a black shadow and wrapped around his neck. The so-called call suddenly became a silent voice. "Well!" Zhao Yun snorted, his face flushed, his forehead was also exposed, and his neck was about to be twisted. Look at the moon god, watching with great interest, not ready to help, and can't help. If Zhao Yun can't solve even a female ghost, then he is really a waste. What a pure blood! The female ghost smiled, and there was still green saliva flowing out of her mouth, full of foul smell. Zhao Yun gritted his teeth and grabbed the female ghost's hair with his hands outside. He borrowed his strength and pulled himself out of the soil. Then he violently pulled, and the female ghost who was still smiling was pulled towards him. At the same instant, he waved his hand, and a domineering slap in the palm of the dragon leaked. "What?" The female ghost screamed and fell into the ancient well again. Where to run? Zhao Yun stepped forward, although the female ghost fell into the well, but the strangely long hair, and half of it scattered outside the well, was caught by him again, and desperately pulled out, and dragged the female ghost out again. "Make you laugh." The palm of Zhao Yun's raised hand fell again, and the female ghost's forehead was completely shot. Now, the whole world is quiet. The female ghost stopped jumping and turned into a cloud of mist, and we could still hear the wailing vaguely. "Where's the ghost in the well?" Zhao Yun lay at the mouth of the well, looking inside with his best eyes. "Maybe, there is still inside. Don't look for it, just this one," Moon God said, holding his cheek with one hand, looking at Kang Miao boredly, not knowing what he was thinking. Zhao Yun closed his eyes, still thinking. Well, from the land of Xianzhong to Yin, it is normal that evil is born. What is worthy of affirmation is that in this ancient well, a terrible event must have happened in a certain period. For example, someone was pushed into the well, and in a very shady place, the sullen soul persisted, and eventually became a ghost. It was a coincidence that he hit him. At this moment, I still feel scared, and it is because of what happened to him. If after he left, the blind Lu Ruxin, and the two maids in this garden, wouldn't it be very dangerous, and she would definitely become a Chinese ghost. Before thinking about it, he moved a large rock and smashed the well platform. I have been out of the ancient well of the ghost, and I can't eat the water in it anymore. Yuner. Outside the park, there was a call, and the sound was Zhao Yun. He ran to watch after hearing the movement. As soon as he walked to the door, he heard the sound of cracking rocks. God knew what Zhao Yun was smashing, and the sound was not small. "Father!" Zhao Yun opened the door, wiping his sweat. "Why haven't you slept yet?" Zhao Yuan scanned Zhao Yun up and down, and he was dirty and sweaty most of the night. Get up and pee. Zhao Yun let out a dry cough. Rest early. Zhao Yuan smiled and patted Zhao Yun, always feeling that Zhao Yun's body was much thicker. Father, after I leave, can I find someone to help Lu Ruxin warm up her body? Father knows it. Zhao Yuan smiled and turned around. In this matter, Zhao Yun said that there is no need for Zhao Yun to find a female elder keking. Since he has recognized his daughter-in-law, he is his own family. How can a dad be stingy? Zhao Yun closed the door, staggered, and vomited blood. Walong Zhangbalai, used it 3 times in a row tonight, and the injury was not minor. Only in this way can I realize the importance of the foundation. If it is placed in the past, if it is also used by the Ning Yuan triple palm, it may be broken. I don't know about one thing, why can't my father see that my spiritual veins have continued? Zhao Yun wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and asked suspiciously. Vision, it's a good thing. Moon God's answer was still so knowledgeable. Zhao Yun had a dry cough and found a place for healing. Night, quietly dispersed. Before it was bright, he stretched out and got up. Did not sleep all night. The method of washing the marrow and Yujinjing has been in operation for 2 more weeks. What made him happy is that the internal injury caused by the shaking of the Walong palm has recovered a lot, and the strength of the muscles and bones has also been qualitatively transformed. Really domineering. Zhao Yun smiled happily, stepped on one step, and fell into the ground. Nice oil escape. I didn't rest in the middle of the night, and I had mastered this method. Thinking about last night, it was really embarrassing. Master, it's dinner. Not long after, I heard the little girl calling from Muir, and another girl came over with Lu Ruxin. The blind bride is still unnatural. She hasn't sat for a long time, and her mother said that marrying a married man must obey the woman's way, and she cannot sit until her husband sits down. The Zhao family doesn't have so many rules. Zhao Yun stretched out, seldom smiled. Breakfast is still very warm. After the meal, he took the burden and saber and left the small garden. Outside the Zhao family mansion, a carriage is ready. Bingpu is not far from this, nor is it near. After all, the territory of Wanggu City is very vast. Gone. Zhao Yun waved his back to the mansion, jumped into the carriage, and raised his whip. He will be back in March. By then, what belongs to him, he will take back as many as possible. P.S. The wife is about to give birth, and she will be accompanying her in the hospital. Xian Yu will be cut off today. Hey? Zhao Yun. When the horse-drawn carriage drove into the street, passers-by looked sideways, whispered and pointed. The night before, he and his Zhao family were in front of the Lu family's mansion. The scenery was infinite, and it had become an after-dinner conversation. I heard that he didn't drive Lu Ruxin away. After all, marry him, the blind man deserves a waist. It's a match made in heaven. Look at this posture, it's time to be sent out of the family. There was a lot of discussion, and there was ridicule, and it was necessary to sigh with regret. Zhao Yun ignored him and drove by. Sneers and ridicules, he has been used to it all these years. No wonder. In the past, he was the young master of the Zhao family, a genuine martial arts genius, and everyone nodded and bowed in the eyes, and flattery was indispensable, so glorious. After the line was broken, the nature of the world was undoubtedly revealed, and the humility to him was the same. Quite a few of them went back, and they got worse. It can be seen from this that the so-called world is cold. The humble 3 years, for him, were also 3 years of tempering the mood. Amidst the discussion, he drifted away. I don't know when, the carriage stopped, and when I raised my eyes, I was in front of a shop. It was the Zhejiabing shop that was coming. The facade was quite majestic. There was a stone lion squatting on the left and right, looking very bluffing. Master! Just when I got off the bus, I saw two teenagers walking out, one Yangda and the other Wu Er. Patriarch has already explained it, please, master. There was also an old man who came out with him, who was amiable. This old man, Zhao Yun recognized, was called his old grandson. He was a member of the Zhao family's surname. He was heard to be a beggar picked up by his grandfather when he went out. He entered the Zhao family and he was grateful to the old paternal master for the rest of his life. Things are not expensive, right? Be careful. Zhao Yun smiled and distributed the 3 wooden boxes he had brought to the 3. This is a meeting ceremony. After all, we have to work together in the future, and we also need to build a good relationship regardless of the foreign surname. All the children of the family who are sent abroad will basically manage some, and the humanity is still necessary. Master Xiet. Just call me Zhao Yun. Zhao Yun smiled and stepped into the soldier's shop. People on the street often stop when they see it, as if they all know the meaning of Zhao Yun's coming here. Obviously, he was assigned by the family. If Zhao Yun is not the head of the family, if he is not selfish, he will be assigned more remotely. Zhao Yun is already sitting at the counter. The old grandson took the accounts. Every time the owner's family came, this was a must-go process. Checking the accounts was a must. How many weapons were sold and how many supplies were purchased, one by one. Since it's a cut scene, what should go is still going. Zhao Yun looks so different, it can be described as 10 lines at a glance. Just because he was once a young master, his father urinated and trained him as the master of the house. He had to learn everything. This auditing is also a compulsory course for him. Come on. Before long, he closed the accounts. Apart from not making money, he had no problems. He is not the only shop selling weapons in Wanggukun. There is competition. Whose quality is good, and whose quality is cheaper, will naturally run to whom. After checking the accounts, the goods were completely boring. Sitting at the counter, holding his face in both hands, looking at this and that, the soldier's shop is not small, it has all kinds of weapons and quality. Counted as middle class, the real best weapons are all in Liujia Bingpu. It's just because his family has a good refiner. The craftsman, but a popular profession, is a guest everywhere. Alchemists like it are more popular. However, such people are really rare, and because the conditions are too harsh, they are basically single transmission. He looked at the street again as he closed his eyes. Opposite is a casino, with the word gambling hanging, which is quite eye-catching, and there are many people coming and going. Across the street, you can still hear the screaming inside. Whoever loses will feel uncomfortable. Next to the casino is a pawn shop. That's right, it's a pawn shop, and the word dang hanging high is also quite dazzling. The casino is adjacent to the pawn shop, which is also very particular. People who have lost money want to find money to make money. Pawn shops are a good place. Jewelry, house deeds, and antiques can be pledged for money as long as they are collected by the pawn shop. In this way, they can go to the casino to gamble a few. To put it bluntly, pawn shops and casinos are a win-win business. One earns gambling capital and the other earns commissions. There has been a tacit understanding since ancient times. And that pawn shop is also his Zhao family's property. In addition, there is a restaurant in the east of the city, a medicinal shop in the west of the city, an antique shop in the south of the city, and an old tea house in the north of the city. Even the underground black market, his Zhao family also participated. It can be said that all businesses and major families have more or less financial resources to invest in shares. These, as the young master, he has known for a long time, but also has to learn. The business of the soldier's shop seems to be not very good. The figures in 2s and 3s come in, and they go out in 2s and 3s. It is a person who comes in. It is not bad to have one to buy a weapon. Most of them are hanging out. When you enter the soldier's shop, look at the number of times Zhao Yun, compare the weapons. There are a lot of them, and their eyes are not very normal. It seems that I am not here to buy weapons, but to see the monkeys. I haven't heard, Lu Ruyu's master gave her a secret book of the ranks. How can I not know? The entire Huanggu city has spread. Earth. I haven't even seen Huang Tier's secret book. The result of Tianzong's arrival is a big deal. The voice in the Bingpu continued. The guests in 2s and 3s really didn't come to buy weapons. Since I came in, the mouth hasn't stopped. They talked very happily, and when they spoke, they would look at Zhao Yun, which is very meaningful. Meaning. That's what it means. Zhao Yun calmed down, supporting his face with his hands, and shaking his eyes from side to side, looking at this and that. Those eyes seemed to be funny. In the daytime so idle, running here to chat, so like disgusting eye? As for Lu Ruyu, he just smiled. Tianzong is very awesome. Terrible secrets? Is there a in the young master's consciousness? Wait. No one can run away. He didn't respond, but some personal talents still chirped and talked endlessly. The old grandson couldn't stand it anymore, but he couldn't say anything. Open the door to do business, the so-called customers are all masters, so you can't offend them. It took an hour before Zhao Yun got up. The new shopkeeper. When I first came to Bingpu, I still had to do it. After the cut scene, you have to find something to do. Master, go and rest. The old grandson smiled. He was really a kind old grandfather. At least he didn't show contempt because the young master Zhao Yun was withdrawn. The family master had already told him that he had a decent life, and he didn't have to be too serious. Good to say. Zhao Yun smiled, he's not welcome. Compared with the shopkeeper, cultivation is the most important thing. There is baby. The moon, who hasn't spoken for a long time, said suddenly. Baby? Zhao Yun's raised foot was retracted again, and his eyes shone brightly. Main Street, that fat man. You, God said leisurely. Zhao Yun followed his eyes. People on the street are bustling, fat guy. Since there is one, naked, breast, potbelly, just like a Maitreya Buddha, just came out of the casino, should have lost a top, blushing, thick neck, and still cursing, looking at everyone is angry. One Miwu's size was stunned and out of a 3-meter-8 aura. That goods, there will be baby? Zhao Yun raised his eyebrows, walked out of the barracks, passed through the crowd, and stepped in front of the fat man. Are you blind? The fat man swears out of his mouth, and loses in the casino without slipping away. It should be this little gourd. Zhao Yun glanced up and down, his gaze fell on the fat man's waist. There was a small purple gold gourd hanging from the waist of an adult. It was as big as the palm of an adult, and there was an incomprehensible pattern carved around the gourd. Fatty was all over, except for the clothes, there was only this little gourd left. Young master of the Zhao family. The fat man touched his chin and walked too eagerly. Only then did he see that Zhao Yun was a celebrity. That night, he was also one of the spectators. Zhao Yun and Zhao's family were already the biggest laughingstocks of the ancient city. Brother, this can't be sold. Zhao Yun smiled and pointed to Zijin little gourd. This is my heirloom. The fat man's eyes were flashing, and he was a good monkey. Someone wanted to buy it. That would have to be a big name. The price is negotiable. 12? Or, I'll give you a knife, go grab it. Zhao Yun curled his lips. When I was the young master of the Zhao family, I only paid 30 taels a month. Don't underestimate the small amount of money in the rich man's house, but it is long enough for ordinary people. This product is good, the lion speaks loudly. 3 and 2. Zhao Yun said, and raised 3 fingers. There is no bargaining like you. The fat man curled his lips, hugged the little gourd tightly, and started the chirping mode. This is a family heirloom. Besides, the dignified young master of the Zhao family, Do you still care about this little money? Just 2s and 3s, there are too many. Don't. Add some more. The fat man grinned. Forget it. Zhao Yun left a word, turned around and left. He just lost everything, I don't believe you don't sell. Got it. The fat man grabbed Zhao Yun and gave him a small gourd, mainly to get the money to make money in the casino. Win more. Zhao Yun was also refreshed, and passed 3 pieces of silver. Go. The fat man took the money, turned and went straight to the casino. With the money, his legs and feet were lightened. Is this a baby? Zhao Yun walked back to the Bing Pu, holding the small gourd, looking at it over and over again, except for the engraved lines on it, which seemed to be indistinguishable from the ordinary small gourd, just that, it cost him a couple of dollars. A golden mountain is not as precious as it. The moon god said leisurely. Really? Zhao Yun was surprised, and subconsciously hugged the little gourd in his arms. Can these treasures be measured by money? What is it capable of? Let's take it first, and teach you how to use it in the future, said the moon god. That has to be closed, and it has to be closed. Zhao Yun held it tightly, more precious than a golden mountain. Is it a divine tool? However, it must not be simple to be able to gain insight. Damn it! Before entering the Bing Pu, he heard a big curse. He looked back and saw that he was just a fat man. He came out cursing again. It seemed that he had lost all the money for selling small gourds. Gambling hurts. Zhao Yun sighed in his heart. Before and after a while, he lost 3 taels of silver. Back to the Bing Pu, he went straight to the back hall. In the back hall, there is a small garden, which is quite secluded and a good place for cultivation. Well. Soon, a muffled sound rang, and it was an overbearing body refining, cooperating with the heavenly thunder Jew of the beginning. 1 day a week, it hurts half to death. Of course, pain has the benefit of pain. Repeated refining to quench the body will increase the strength of the muscles and muscles a lot. The next step is the escape technique. After all, it is for life-saving, so you have to practice transparency, but it can't be like last night. If you only get half of your body into the soil when you run for your life, God knows how embarrassing it is. If you don't pay attention, you will lose your life. After that, he took a long sword and danced in the garden. Swordsmanship. It's still subtle, but this subtlety is in the eyes of Moon God. She wanted to pass on Zhao Yun's fighting fairy method. It is a pity that this product is only the 3rd level of Ning Yuan. Even if it is passed to him, it can only be seen. Here, Zhao Yun has collected his sword. Tired and panting, he was holding the little purple gourd to study. Before long, I saw him get up again. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is a martial idiot. It seems that he has never rested, and he is exhausted almost every time. If this time, he stood firmly, sat down with his ass, and was out of breath. Out of breath. Buy some Yuluo Ling Yi back, soak in melt water after refining, the effect is better. The words of Moon God resounded in his mind. That thing is very valuable. Zhao Yun let out a dry cough, his expression still a bit awkward. Dignified young master, will you have no money? Really not? Zhao Yun laughed. He had received a lot of money and saved a lot of money, but he bought a very expensive hosta. He wanted to give it to Lu Ruyu on the night of marriage. Who would have expected that there would be an exchange of money? The wedding ceremony, and the hosta, has never been brought. If you bring it with you, it will be sold. There are only a few pieces of silver left, and half a caddy is not enough. I ask you for it. Open your mouth. It's in the drawer of the soldier's shop, go get it. I can't do it. Why don't you find someone to stay cool? Moon God squinted at Zhao Yun. It's pretty cool. Zhao Yun shrugged his head, a word of money is hard to be a hero. On the opposite side, there is a casino. Luna said again. My gambling luck has always been poor. Zhao Yun gave a dry cough. Are you a decoration? Where is my purse? As soon as the moon myth fell, Zhao Yun slipped up and rummaged through his baggage, looking for clothes and shoes, sabers and daggers, picking one and throwing one. This posture is obviously looking for something. Finally, a small purse was revealed. Looking at the moon god, looking at Zhao Yun's eyes, his words grew more serious, and visually, this was amused. Let's just talk about it. How capable is God? Zhao Yun smiled, and left with his purse. The moon god dared to say that he would definitely win money. Master. Seeing Zhao Yun coming out, the old grandson sitting at the counter stood up. How much did it sell? The market is not good, no one cares. As expected. Zhao Yun took a deep breath. As mentioned earlier, Liu's family has a craftsman, and the weapons they sell are all top-grade weapons. Those who buy weapons have gone to his house. The business here is bleak and normal, but the quality is still not good. Thinking of this, he felt very upset. It's nothing more than being forced by other families, but being pressed by the Liu family makes it very disgusting. Losing money every day, within 3 months, the family will shut it down. The old grandson sighed, looking at that old look, it showed more vicissitudes and reluctance. Zhao Yun could understand this look. I heard from my father that this barracks was founded by my grandfather when he was the young master. Since then, the old grandson has followed his grandfather to fight the battle. Although the old owner is gone, he has guarded this barracks for decades. The decline of the soldier's shop, the state of mind is self-knowledge. Zhao Yun's heart is full of warmth, and there are not many people in the world who are as loyal as the old grandson. I want to be a refiner. Zhao Yun said in his heart that he was telling the moon god that he shouldn't let grandpa's hard work fall into his hands. The instrument is like a pill. The refining device is the same as the alchemy, either with flames or thunder and lightning. This is a prerequisite. Do you have these? Moon god returned casually, holding his cheek with one hand, looking at Kang Mian. Are you a god? There must be a way. So, wait for it to rain. Rain. Zhao Yun raised his eyebrows, not knowing the meaning of the moon god, and never asked. I'll go out and go around. With a word, he walked out of the barracks, through the crowds, and entered the casino. Big big big. Small, small, small. When he entered the casino, he heard loud screams. The gambling tables were filled with figures and divided into 2 factions. One party shouted and the other shouted, most of them were shirtless, like being beaten with blood and wailing. Fuck, it's still big. Don't listen to me, look, lose money. Deserve it. Hurry up, lose money. The casinos are full of smoke and noise, the winners are happy, the losers scold their mothers. Hey? Zhao Yun. Many people looked sideways, saw Zhao Yun, raised their eyebrows, and even looked at the gambling table dealer. The young master has been deposed, come here to have fun. Most people think this way, a wedding has been hit, and they unconsciously think that Zhao Yun is self-willing and depraved, so, it is inevitable to gossip, ridicule, and sigh secretly, one after another. Good place. Zhao Yun ignored the glances of the gamblers and wandered back and forth. Finally, he stopped at a gaming table. The gambling table is full of copper coins, silver and gold ingots. In addition to this, there are also talents who bet on clothes. They lose everything. Anyone who can use it as gambling money will be placed on the gambling table without hesitation. Such examples are not uncommon. Those who lose red eyes, not to mention clothes, even the daughter-in-law, children, and land deeds will gamble. Gambling hurts people. Zhao Yun's words were deep, and he consciously took out the purse, and the moon god looked at him and wanted to laugh. Betting more and paying more. Pay less and pay less. Make a decision and leave your hand. The dealer was bluffing, holding the sieve cup in his hand, and the one that shook was called a rhythm. The sieve clashing was pleasant, but it was a bit difficult to hear the points, because the sieve cup material was very special, and it was useless to listen. While talking, the sieve cup was already on the table. Big. Listen to my brother, this time bet on the small one. 3 or 2, big. The gamblers were very excited, their eyes were red, and they placed a bet and waited for the cash. Which way to bet? Zhao Yun asked, gambling. It's nothing more than big or small, with mixed wins and losses. 2, 3, 4. Moon God said casually. It's Xiao Bai. Zhao Yun left a piece of silver, but all the others went up. Opened. With a scream, the dealer opened the sieve, and the 3 sieves got together. Look at the points, the board is exactly 4, 5, and 6. Flutter. Before the gambler scolded, he heard that Zhao Yun smiled stupidly. When everyone looked around, the guy was bending over and covering his face, and he didn't know what he was laughing. What can he laugh? God? Go crazy! You crazy girl, can you do it? The look in your eyes is not good enough. The moon god who was reclining on the moon couldn't help sitting upright, and rubbed his eyes with his hands. Zhao Yun was still laughing, and the gamblers and even the dealers who watched were all dumbfounded. Master Zhao family, the big one is out, you lose. I know. Then what are you laughing at? Am I smiling? Zhao Yun buried his head, opened the purse, and took a look inside. There was only a piece of broken silver left. Just say it. Unfortunately, I kept my eyes on it and didn't rush it all. Someone who claims to be a god. It was unreliable, and only then vowed to win money. The fact? Didn't guess a single point correctly. Moon God smiled in embarrassment, and when he lost, God couldn't hold back his face. 80% is stimulated. The gamblers still had weird eyes, they slowly closed their eyes, and instinctively thought that Zhao Yun's spirit was a little abnormal due to the repeated blows, and laughed after losing money. Wouldn't it be going to heaven if he won? Betting more and paying more. Pay less and pay less. Make a decision and leave your hand. The dealer began to yell again, the sieve cup in his hand, shaking domineeringly and leaking. There are only 2 left. Zhao Yun took the silver and glanced at the moon, his eyes were all slanted. 2, 2, 3. The moon god said lightly, with a deep tone, and she saw it clearly this time, worthy of the name of God. Zhao Yun was quite casual, and the only money left was thrown on the gaming table. Not to mention, the moon god is reliable this time, and 1 or 2 silvers will be charged, but 2 will be returned. The gamblers looked sideways and glanced at Zhao Yun, wanting to see his reaction. He just lost money, and he didn't laugh a lot, now he won money, but he has no expression. 5, 6, 6. Go. 3, 5, 4. Listen to you. Moon God is responsible for reporting the number, Zhao Yun is responsible for throwing money, 1 and 1 person, and the cooperation is quite tacit. Luck is not really important. There is a who lays the pestle, and no luck. A few of them have come down, and hundreds of taels have been paid. Not to mention the gambler, even the dealer's look at him is not very kind, and he has won a few hands before and after. The luck of this waste master seems to be a little overwhelming. Is it really stupid or fake? Zhao Yun is not stupid. There are ways to win money, but you can't always win, and the dealer will scold your mother. Therefore, it is necessary to lose occasionally. This routine is used very well. It is for gambling money, and there are winners and losers. It is the of gambling to win. The most disgusting thing in the casino is this number, who will kill you when you go out. As long as you know the way, fools will always win, and no casino is taken advantage of. Master Zhao family, where to bet this time? The gamblers' eyes were shining, each waiting for Zhao Yun to speak. Several of them followed Zhao Yun and won a lot of money. A table of talented people who did not do their job properly made the banker's winning face black. In their view, frustrated love, casinos are proud. Regardless of whether he is a genius or a waste, it is good if he can help them win money, the others are not important. You are free, I'm going to drink flower wine. Zhao Yun smiled, holding the purse and left. There are already 200 taels, enough for several days, but he can't catch a little lamb and smash the wool to death. Maybe one of them will cause murder. As for the money is used up, I will come again. However, when I come back, I will definitely dress up. Yes, the god of gamblers is gone. The of your sister. Betting on speed. The dealer was bluffing, his face was dark, and he did not forget to glance at Zhao Yun during the period. Has become a waste, how has luck improved? Naturally, they would not chase down the young master of the Zhao family for 200 taels of silver. These are all small money, and the casino can still afford to lose. If you really meet those who don't have eyesight, then you will have to kill people and make money. I still have so much money in the first time. Here, Zhao Yun buried his head and counted the silver, smiling all the way. Could you be a little promising? Moon God glanced at him, where is the young master of the family? After winning 200 taels, he was happy. Whispering sound. Zhao Yun disagreed, stepped out of the casino and headed straight to the other side of the street. Not long after he entered a medicinal shop, when he came out again, he had a dozen kilograms of Yuluo Lingyi in his hands. Enough for 3 days. Zhao Yun secretly calculated that some meat hurts. This thing is indeed expensive. The average martial arts practitioner can't afford this consumption, and it can cost hundreds of taels. The young master of the family can't get so much money. Fortunately, he has a way to withdraw money. The casino is a good place, and if you have a tight hand in the future, I will go there for a stroll. P.S. The child is born, Xianwu takes a few days off, eternity is updated as usual. Back to the Bingpu, it was getting late. After the meal, he closed the door tightly and found a large wooden bucket filled with clear water. Then, 3 caddies of Yuluo Lingyi poured in. Under the agitation, the clear water became more colorful, clouded, and full of spiritual energy. Are you still asleep? Zhao Yun glanced at the moon god, and he was about to take a bath. Someone looked at him and was embarrassed to take off his clothes. Moon god squinted at Zhao Yun, did your hair grow all the same? Zhao Yun disapproved of it, and pulled his clothes, since he wanted to see it, then he could watch it. The moon god closed his eyes and looked at Kang Mi. With only a plop, Zhao Yun jumped into the wooden barrel, sat cross-legged, and then circulated the marrow washing Yujinjing, the water rippled, and the spiritual liquid immersed into the body with the pores, cool and gentle, nourishing the body. Before long, the water was quite turbid. The spirit fluid was absorbed, but impurities were refined in the body, but there was still a faint fishy smell. So, 3 days passed quietly. During the 3 days, his life was quite regular. He hid in the room for exercises during the day, and stood under the moon to practice retreat in the dark. Apart from eating and sleeping, he seemed to be practicing. After a long time, he gradually adapted to the pain of exercises. Bo. On the 4th day, there was a breakthrough in martial arts cultivation, reaching the 4th level of Ning Yuan. The next day, he left the army shop early. In a corner of the alley, he put on a human skin mask, still stuck a white beard on his chin, and when he was done, he touched a mole on his mouth, dressed in disguise, and entered the casino. As I said earlier, this is a good place. With tight hand, come here to get some, otherwise there is no money to buy Yuluo Lingyi. Before long, he came out. This time it was even worse than last time, winning a full 300 taels. The casino quit, and 2 small servants were sent to follow all the way, obviously wanting to kill and rob money. Unfortunately, after entering the alley, Zhao Yun disappeared. Zhao Yun had already used the escape technique very easily, and he came out after the two young men scratched their heads and left. It's the medicine shop. When Zhao Yun came out again, he carried a large wine jar in one hand, but it was filled with Yuluo Ling Yi. In today's Bingpu, business is still bleak, and no one has been seen for a long time. Zhao Yun also sighed, fearing that it was his grandfather's painstaking effort before his death that he would really lose out in his hands. In the blink of an eye, it was another 3 days. Zhao Yun hadn't been out of the room, he was really a martial idiot, practicing day and night. Late at night, everything was silent. Zhao Yun dragged his exhausted body to bed, Su Shi was too exhausted, and soon fell asleep. My counts, it's going to rain. The moon god was not asleep, sitting on the moon, looking bored at Kang Mian. The sky is full of stars, and there are already dark clouds. Soon, there was a flash of lightning, and after 3 to 5 breaths, the thunder was heard. Get up! The moon god knocked Zhao Yun's consciousness. Zhao Yun was awakened, rubbed his sleepy eyes and sat up. Sleeping right? Get on your horse, take the iron rod, and go outside the city. In the middle of the night, what's the wind? Which so much nonsense, speed. Zhao Yun yawned and looked around. Without seeing the iron rod, he took an iron spear from the soldier's shop. Seeing that it was going to rain, he put on a cloak and clothes, and then rode straight out of the city. Outside the ancient city of Forgotten, there are mountains where fierce beasts often haunt. Zhao Yun drove his horse and followed the gloomy mountain road into the deep mountains. He still doesn't know what Moon God wants to do. Stop! I don't know when I heard the words of Moon God. Go up to the top of the mountain. Then, I saw her raise her hand and pointed at a mountain not far away. Zhao Yun tied the horse and climbed up all the way. Stand firmly, raise the spear. You God said leisurely. Don't make trouble, what about thunder? Zhao Yun grinned for a while, so he raised the iron spear so that he didn't get struck by lightning. Tian Lei Ju at the beginning of the operation. Moon God said lightly, I can't die. Zhao Yun's eyes lighted up. It has been shelved for many days since it was passed on from the early days. It has only been brought up until now. Listening to the meaning of the moon's god's words, this divine tactic with the word thunder really needs to cooperate with thunder and lightning. At this moment, I realized that the moon god asked him to prepare iron rods, which were originally used to induce thunder. Speaking of Lei, he subconsciously raised his eyes to look at the sky. The thunder and lightning are fierce, so standing and struck by thunder, I think about it. Speed! Luna urged. Xiu'er, don't cheat me. Zhao Yun coughed dryly, raised his spear, cautiously plopped. Thunder and lightning are not a joke. If they are touched, they will be chopped into ashes if they are not careful. He did not dare to relax, silently reciting the heavenly thunder Ju of the beginning, without daring to stop for a moment. From a distance, it was like a javelin stuck there, straight and straight, waiting to be struck by lightning. Boom! There was a roar, lightning flashed in the sky, and a bolt of thunder fell from the sky and struck the spear. Well! Zhao Yun snorted, staggering, feeling his body exploded. Boom! 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 Without waiting for him to stand firm, there were 4 thunders and lightnings in no particular order. With the first thunder, there were 5 thunders and thunders all day long. If anyone swears a poisonous oath, he is struck by lightning like this, more than touching a switch. Sour! The spear burst and fell apart into ashes. Zhao Yun also fell down. His clothes were torn and messed up, and his face was even darker. He had smooth long hair and some curls. Moreover, the smoke was rising, and he could smell the barbecue. Am I still alive? Zhao Yun murmured, only feeling that his mind was rumbling, his consciousness was also blurred, and he couldn't distinguish between reality and illusion. Look at the body. Moon God said lazily. Zhao Yun received his and looked at his body inside. This look was amazed. But seeing the body, there is more thunder and lightning. This is the ability of the heavenly thunder Jew of the beginning, which can draw thunder into the body. With the method of the heavenly thunder Jew of the beginning, it can temper the body through internal cultivation, and it can be used to kill people and kill enemies. Its mystery is far beyond your imagination. I see it. Zhao Yun looked back blankly, his thoughts moved, and there was lightning lingering in his palm, and his expression flashed in a daze. Ray, this is Ray. Since ancient times, no one who has been struck by lightning has a good ending, let alone drew thunder into the body. The lightning in the body is unreal at first glance. In a trance, more shocked the Tian Lei Ju from the beginning, too overbearing. Thinking of this, he hurriedly ran the Taishu Tian Li Ju. Suddenly, thunder and lightning surged in the body, and thunder and lightning could be seen on the body surface. Not only the body surface, but also the limbs, hundreds of skeletal organs, internal organs, and odd meridians and 8 channels, there were more thunder and lightning lingering all over the body. The sound of thunder persists in the ears. In addition, it is the true essence, which is also full of thunder. Under the tempering of thunder and lightning, the true essence is more pure. The mystery doesn't stop there. What made him even more delighted was that the lightning in his body was actually strengthened after the operation of the heavenly thunder's secret art at the beginning, like a seed, planted in the soil, has taken root and sprouted, and over time, it will become a towering tree. Click it! Click it! He used one heart and 2 purposes again, and when he operated the heavenly thunder Ju of the beginning, he also operated the washing marrow Yujin Jing. As he expected, more results with half the effort. Use thunder to quench the body and wash the marrow Yi Jin Jing to make it more domineering. Wonderful, really wonderful. Zhao Yun was pleasantly surprised, the value of this thunder strike had made good luck. Your attribute is the wind, thunder assists the wind, and the wind creates thunder. Moon God's words are long. I understand. Zhao Yun said with a smile, the martial arts of the wind attribute are known for their speed. If there is thunder to cheer, the two will complement each other, cooperate with the attack secret method, the power will be domineering, if you can master it, the shot will be a thunder strike. I have Raiden, can I be a refiner? In surprise, Zhao Yun rubbed his hands and looked at Moon God with shining eyes. It's okay. Then teach me how to refining tools. There is still thunder and lightning in the sky, continue to absorb it, and it will not be too late for the refining. Moon God said indifferently. Understand. Zhao Yun immediately crossed his knees, meditating in his heart the heavenly thunder Ju of the beginning. Nowadays, even without a spear, he can draw thunder into his body just because there is thunder and lightning in his body. Using thunder to lead thunder, nothing wrong. Boom. Rumble. With the boom, the thunder and lightning descended again, and Zhao Yun's skin was split open. A trace of thunder and lightning was absorbed through the wound and merged with the thunder and lightning in the body. Lei Wei was more powerful, and his physique was tempered by lightning. At this moment, if anyone is here, they must be surprised. Sitting there and being struck by lightning, it was all right. If it were spread out, it would be a world wonder. Well. Zhao Yun kept humming, although thunder and lightning could not kill him, it hurts. The bones in the body were crackling, the muscles and bones were beating like a hammer, and it was burning like a ball of flames, and the pain made the whole body tremble. At this moment, the pouring rain has fallen. Looking away, he was like a flash of light, his figure blurred by thunder and rain. Thunder in the rain, the thunder quenches the body. His enlightenment cultivation base has made a breakthrough again, from the 4th to the 5th. The heavy rain stopped until late at night. Zhao Yun didn't get up. He was as calm as a rock, with a solemn treasure. He had already run the marrow cleaning Yujin Sutra. This Heart Sutra really has a certain divine power. The blood gutters that were split by thunder, accompanied by it, slowly healed. When the stars filled the sky again, he slowly opened his eyes. The lightning hardened the body, and the flesh became more tough, and even the turbid breath that he exhaled had a hint of thunder. It feels really wonderful. Zhao Yun stood up and shot a powerful dragon palm. There was a powerful dragon's roar. A huge stone 3 or 5 feet away was punched with a 5-fingerprint, and even the huge stone body burst into cracks. Seeing it, he flipped his hand and palm. With this palm, he blessed the thunder and lightning, and there was more thunder in the dragon's roar. Boom! On the spot, the boulder exploded, and the rubble that was hit by Zhao Yun's palm was flying around. Palm Jin is more domineering. So domineering, if someone suffers, it must be very sour. The foundation is consolidated, and there are many benefits. Zhao Yun smiled. The previous Shiwalong palm technique would be injured by internal strength. Today, there is only a sense of sex. This is attributed to the Xiashui Yujinjing and the Taishu Tian Li Ju. The two exercises cooperate, and the mystery is endless. Suddenly, a piece of gold has been carved into his mind. The moon god taught the secret method, and the golden letters were still so dazzling. It is the profound meaning of refining tools. Zhao Yun looked intently, and at this moment, he was particularly motivated and studious. Close your eyes cross-legged, calmly feeling. The moon god was leisurely, lying on the moon, sleeping comfortably, only occasionally raised his eyes and glanced at Kang Mian. Look at Zhao Yun, his mind is already lost. Profound meaning has said that refining is quite similar to body refining, and it is necessary to refine the impurities to enhance the hardness, flexibility and compactness of the weapon, just like tamping the foundation of the body, so that good weapons can be cast. Naturally, this is just the most basic. The refining tool is profound, and it is only the tip of the iceberg, but it is definitely enough. I don't know when, he opened his eyes. Seeing him set for a moment, he raised his head slightly, and his eyes were still swinging from side to side. It was because a star fell in the starry sky, and under the night, an extremely beautiful arc was drawn. Meteor! Zhao Yun whispered. Boom! When the words fell, he heard a loud noise. The meteor in his mouth hit the ground, and a mountain in the distance crashed and crashed. There were a lot of flying debris, and it collapsed to the top of the mountain where he was. Fetch it! Moon God said casually. Have a baby. Zhao Yun's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly got up and went down the mountain, and went straight to the top of the smashed mountain. The distance is not close. When you reach that piece of heaven and earth, you will see a mess, and the ground is full of rubble. Perhaps the movement is too great, and even the surrounding towering ancient trees have been knocked down a lot, and most of them have been charred. Zhao Yun narrowed his eyes slightly and looked around. In the end, it was set in the very center of a pile of gravel. There was a black stone that looked like a piece of coke at first glance, about the size of a wine jar, pitted, and its shape was not very regular. Sure, it's not? Zhao Yun asked. Yet. Moon God was lightly, and the response was neither salty nor light. Is this a baby? Zhao Yun came and squatted in front of the black stone. He swept up and down, sometimes even reaching out and knocking. He couldn't see why. He wanted to move it up and study it. But what surprised him was that this small piece of rock weighs far more. His imagination had to weigh 500 catties, and the Zhenyuan could be moved before he moved it. What is this? Zhao Yun asked curiously, holding the stone in his arms. The outer meteorite, to be precise, it is the outer meteorite, and the impurities are quenched, and the rest is the meteorite. Nice one. Zhao Yun licked his tongue, his eyes were bright and shiny. He had heard of meteorite iron. The materials for casting weapons have always been priceless. Even if they did, the nobles and princes could not afford it. He only listened. I have never seen it before, let alone a meteorite from Tianwei, adding a Tianwei, suddenly feel tall. Just say it. Luck is here, and I can't stop it. I was short of a handful of weapons, made with this meteorite iron, but the most suitable, it must be domineering. Put down the stone, you can live. Suddenly, after a sneer on himself, his voice was hoarse, as if he had been smoked. Zhao Yunhuo turned around. Upon entering the eyes, I saw a man in black with a stubble on his mouth, a fierce and evil spirit, a scar on his face, especially eye-catching, and he was smiling at him at this moment, but that kind of laughter, at first glance, looks crippling. And his eyes, bloodshot and scarlet, gloomy and brutal. True spirit realm. Zhao Yun said in his heart that he had just paid too much attention to the meteorite, but he didn't notice anyone coming. That's right, if there is such a big movement, anyone in the mountains will be alarmed. He took the time to look at the moon god, the girl must know beforehand, but did not tell him. Bring it. The man in black said lightly and stretched out his big hand to see his expression, not only to rob, but also to kill. I want it, here you are. Zhao Yun also simply, the meteorite in his arms was thrown at the man in black. Also sensible. The man in black smiled and raised his hand at will. The meteorite that fell from the sky must be a treasure. Of course, he underestimated the weight of the meteorite. The 500 caddies of stone, without knowing it beforehand, took it with one hand and staggered. Walong. Before he could stand firmly, Zhao Yun had already rushed forward, with a powerful palm. Just kidding, a real soul is heavy, and you want to grab my baby? The other party was caught off guard and took Zhao Yun's hand firmly, which was really sour and refreshing. Little Ning Yuan, where is such a heavy palm strength? The man in black was astonished, the force of this palm was quite substantial, and he spurted blood when he hit him. Walong. Zhao Yun clanged and hit with a palm, and wanted to make up for the goods. Little bastard, looking for death. The man in black was furious, stood still, and fisted. Boom! When the fists collided, Zhao Yun was shocked to kick back, his palms were bloody, and his internal organs were aching. Look at the man in black, standing still. The martial arts cultivation base is not equal, this is the gap. Under normal circumstances, the true spirit absolutely crushes the Ning Yuan. Die! The black-clothed man snorted coldly, stepped out, and jumped up, smashing the sky with a palm knife. Zhao Yun did not move, letting a palm slash it. In the eyes of the man in black, this little Ning Yuan realm Wuxiu was frightened. In fact, Zhao Yun is not stupid, at the moment when the sword was about to come to his body, he performed the escape technique. People are gone. The black man's domineering side leaked palm, and his body suddenly lost his balance on the spot. And Zhao Yun has rushed out from the ground. As soon as the man in black fell to the ground, he was not able to stand still, so he grabbed an arm and stretched it out. Boom! The subsequent pictures were extremely seductive. The man in black in the first stage of the true spirit was smashed to the ground by Zhao Yun in the fifth stage of Ning Yuan. The ground full of rubble was smashed into a human-shaped pit. Puff! The blood of the black-clothed man was spurting old high, his eyes were prominent, and his eyeballs were almost shaken out of the eye sockets. Looking at the body, the internal organs were shifted, the bones were broken, and the meridians were broken. His mother's, he didn't cut his palm properly, his face was dumbfounded. This fall not only hurt the muscles and bones, but also became paralyzed on the spot, and it was also to blame for the poor physical strength. Good journey. Zhao Yun said calmly, slapped the man in black on the forehead, and he was killed. The pupils of the man in black shrank, and his face was full of depression. He should be depressed, and he was rushed to the ground, and he was killed by a Ning Yuan realm. He was too careless. If he knew that Zhao Yun was not easy, he would treat it with caution. Many of his cards have not been used, and he was destroyed. Zhao Yun had squatted down and took away the man in black's purse. When I pulled it apart, I was shocked. The full amount of cash was more than 1,000 taels. Is this robbing the bank? Zhao Yun sighed and sighed, the richness of the spoils caught him off guard. With the money bag in his pocket, he continued searching. There are a lot of miscellaneous small objects, and depending on the appearance, they are not very valuable. Finally, he found a piece of jade from the arms of the man in black. The jade is black, square, as big as a baby's fist, with a pattern engraved on the bottom. Seal. Zhao Yun recognized himself. The so-called seal, as long as people with identity, basically find someone to engrave one, too lazy to sign and draw, just affix a seal, such as the Emperor's jade seal, every imperial decree will be stamped on it. Zhao Yun breathed a sigh of relief at the bottom of the ink jade seal. After I was done, I printed it on my arm, wanting to see what the identity of the man in black was. Of course, what was printed was not a person's name, but a wolf-shaped graphic. Interesting. Zhao Yun muttered, received the ink jade seal, and took a small purple bottle, which was also turned over from the man in black. The contents were used for disintegrating and destroying the corpses. This is a good thing, only sold on the black market. A pinch of powder spilled out of the bottle, and the body of the man in black gradually turned into blood. There is a strong person approaching, Xianyang realm. The moon god said indifferently. The man in black, who was only truly spiritual, was for Zhao Yun to temper. Xianyang realm. Forget it. That level of martial arts, as far as Zhao Yun is concerned, is not a joke. He can be disabled with a single palm. Looking at Zhao Yun, he picked up the meteorite and ran away. After a dozen feet, he immediately escaped, and he didn't rush to run, the Xianyang realm had already arrived. Soon, a black shadow flashed over. It was an old man in sackcloth. Looking around, his eyes narrowed when he saw the pool of blood. Under the ground, Zhao Yun held his breath, and did not dare to reveal his breath. Although the escape is mysterious, in the eyes of the strong, it is not without a door, and if you dare to reveal your breath, you can also be found. The old man is in the Xianyang realm, and his perception should be good. If you don't pay attention, you will be exposed. It's not hard to imagine the next section. The moon and the black wind are high, and in this deep mountain and old forest, it is a good place to kill people and make money. What about people? The old man in Mai muttered softly, looked and looked again, clearly aware of the breath, and disappeared in a flash. When he closed his eyes, he left with humility. Although he was gone, Zhao Yun did not show up. The old man in Mai has deep routines and did not go, hiding in the dark. With half a stick of incense, the servant turned and left. It was a long time before I saw Zhao Yun burst out of the ground, sweating all over his body. As the old saying goes, is old and spicy, and it is true. Just now, if the moon god hadn't reminded him, he would have run out stupidly. It would be miserable. The world is sinister. Zhao Yun sighed, holding the meteorite in his arms, and dashed deeper into the mountains. Not long after, I searched for a cave. When I was done, I didn't forget to cover it with a branch. Then I sat down and put down the meteorite with a bang. For this baby, there were surprises one after another. Thinking of the old man in Mai, I still feel scared. To see the moon god, it was still so leisurely. Zhao Yun squinted, this girl is not a good baby in his bones. P.S. 30 DAY membership of newly registered users from 10 to 13 has been credited.